I went for the past 5 days without really smelling anything, like maybe just smelling one thing per day, which was, yeah, it's a shame. I was hoping that I'd suddenly be able to smell things every day, um, but yeah, I couldn't, but that's okay. Um, but then today um, just as I was walking back from the beach, literally like right at the end of, after sort of a 5 minute walk through the bush, I suddenly had a very slight smell of a house that was like coffee from a house that was at least 50 meters away. And then soon after that, I suddenly had a very slight smell of the beach. And this was just as I was leaving the whole beach area. So, I was like leaving the beach for walking away from it for about 5 minutes. And then just as I was leaving, that's when I suddenly got a smell of the beach. So yeah, at least sort of it is occasionally um, coming to me. But then about a minute before all that happened, um, I was sort of trying to kind of meditate, concentrate on my breath while I was walking home. But at, um, someone I was walking along the beach path that's sort of quite narrow and going through the bush, and there was someone sort of walking behind me that I saw sort of when I started, and it was like a innocent looking Indian guy, and sort of walking behind me, and I definitely sort of didn't sort of feel sort of threatened by the guy or anything like that. But then um, I sort of, while I was walking, I suddenly saw like a real nice spider web right next to me. So then I sort of stopped to look at it, and I was looking for a bit, and then um, as I was about to leave, I realized that the person behind me sort of was coming close, and then sort of saw that I'm kind of stopped in the middle of the path, and they're probably kind of scared of me, and then so I started sort of continuing to walk, and um, but then I felt sort of quite scared, which happens to me often in situations like that. But it wasn't that I was scared of them. I started realizing that it's um, that I felt like I'd be scary to them, because it happens more like if, for example, I'm in sort of, say, like walking in somewhere that's dark, and then there's a sort of a woman there, and then I can tell she'd be scared of me, and um then yeah, like I started realizing um that yeah, sometimes I get quite scared of just the thought of what I look like to other people, um and yeah, I started just thinking that perhaps that's actually why when I was around 13, um I think this explains why when I was around 13, I basically stopped becoming aggressive in any way. And it was, yeah, like quite strange when I look back on it that nothing significant happened sort of any time around then that I'd sort of, because like all my PTSD stuff was from much earlier, and nothing major happened around then. I was just going through a lot of sort of changes in my life, sort of 11, 12, and 13, and but yeah, like sort of around late when I was 12, and for pretty much all of when I was 13, sort of I was changing a lot. That I became very unaggressive and just because like I say when I was 12, I was just fighting every day, and like sort of for like a lot of my childhood before that, like fighting with my brother every single day, and fighting with just lots of sort of other guys, like sort of I was always getting black eyes, and just physically fighting a fair bit, like not sort of over the top, but basically like a normal level of fighting a lot, or maybe a little bit more than normal. But then yeah, while I was 13, like I very um much just totally stopped that. But by the time I was end of 13, I wasn't fighting at all and wasn't aggressive in any way, and didn't have sort of anything aggression related in any way, and just um yeah, just very kind of non-aggressive of any form. And I've actually stayed like that ever since then. And it's not that I sort of purposely tried to do that. It just sort of quickly started happening to me. And yeah, I was saying that to my psychologist earlier that I can only think of two cases where I had any form of anger in any way since then, like 25 years. Which yeah, she was actually quite shocked that because you're saying it sounds like it's not just anger; it's all of the like sub emotions related to anger that like things like jealousy and revenge and just so many different emotions are all sort of part of the anger group of primary emotions, and I've barely felt any of that whatsoever in 25 years now, since I was 13, and um, which like I couldn't think of why that could happen, but then yeah, just today I'm starting to think that maybe at 13 I started, as I was getting older, I started becoming sort of a bit more manly, and then maybe I started getting scared of myself. That um, sort of, yeah, like I think that's why like I haven't been able to be aggressive since then. That I must have quickly became scared of myself and that what I'm capable of, and just sort of the scariness of myself as if it's a different person, um, and yeah, like I sort of get that impression now. And, um, not that it's a big deal, but yeah, something that I've been thinking of just this morning.